Hey, this is Silicus, and this video will go over the unboxing and overview of the EVGA X79 for the Win board. You can see around me, you can choose what you want to watch so you don't have to watch all 15 minutes and jump to exactly what you want. Hey, this is Silicus, and today I'm going to be unboxing the EVGA X79 for the Win board. There are 3 boards in this category. You have the standard X79, the For the Win, and the classified. The biggest difference between the regular one is that it's missing some of the PCIe lanes. This one is a 3-way and the classified is a 4-way. There's some other minor differences, but the biggest thing you'll notice is this is a 3-way and the classified is the 4-way. So we're going to open this thing up so you can check out what's inside, get a look at the board and what's all in here. First things first, let's get this thing unboxed real quick. X79 for the Win. It's got some details on it here. Sorry for some of the glare. Details of the board. All the other jazz on here. Comes with a free overclocking utility. That's also you have Elite. They have a little program called Mod Rigs where you can submit your rig to win some cash. It's pretty cool. EVGA Gaming, they host little events to win money, tournaments, stuff like Battlefield. They do lots of games with that, Team Fortress, other things like that. Anyway, let's get it opened up. Disclaimer on the top telling you that return this to them if you'd like. That way they can service it for you. One of the biggest things about EVGA is that they really have really great customer support. You'll get to speak to somebody here in America 24/7, almost 365 days out of the year. And if you ever need any help or any questions, they'll help you. The only thing they can't really do is talk about overclocking because that's part of the voiding the warranty. But everything else, RAM timings, you name it, they can help you with. Okay, so first we have the manual itself, which is pretty self-explanatory. One of the coolest little case badges I think I've ever seen. Look at this. It's like a little metal. It's pretty cool. It's a nice little case badge. One I may actually put on a computer. It's pretty awesome. The disc set. It's always good to keep a CD on hand for this one because some of the features on here, such as USB, maybe even their Intel LAN controller and other stuff like that, is not preloaded into Windows because it came out afterwards. So this disk, in order for you to use all those features, you can install it off this disk or you can go online. But if for some reason, if you don't have the right LAN controllers, it's nice to not have to preload them to a USB drive and install them. So keep this. Manual tells you all about it. Inside is another kind of cool thing they give you with some of their nice boards. Is a giant panel overlay. Tells you of all the connectors, the colors, what lanes do what. Shows you an outline of what the I/O panel looks like, what goes in it. Alright, and we have lots of connectors. Here we have, looks like SATA controllers here. Got a few of them. Looks like got 2 of them there. And then switches from Molex to SATA. Then we have a USB 3.0. Let's see if we can get this thing open here real quick. Allows you to plug it into the board and get an additional 2 SATA 3s. And then here's your standard SATA. You can see the difference between a SATA 2 and a SATA 3 by generally the color. They're usually blue and these are white and they're FireWire. Plugs directly into the board right here. And an SLI bridge. This looks like a soft one, a little easier to use. Over to the other side. Oh, the other side has tons of goodies. Alright, here you have a front plate. Give it open it up real quick. And it's nicely colored, has a little bit of padding on the back, so when you push up against it, it says EVGA on it. Here's your 3-way SLI bridge, which is nice. I'll have to buy one of those. Actually, and then they have the other version. These are hard, so they're not flexible. You have the large gap one, and then the small gap. So if you happen to have one spread out amongst the board, and let's see what these are. Here are another SATA cable. A couple of them. These are round cables, which are kind of cool. And another SATA to Molex Molex here, a bunch of SATAs. It's gonna be nice for them to provide that. Usually that'll come in your, make sure you're grounded. They pad it nicely, all on the bottom, and even on the board itself, it's actually padded. So, lots of passive cooling all over here. Speaker, your BIOS. You have looks like 3 different BIOS. So you have 1, 2, 3. That's pretty awesome. So if you mess up one, or if you have different types of overclocking you particularly like, another really cool feature. So on the actual board itself, they have these little rubber protectors. Right here, you can see it says USB 3.0. Face it this way. You can pop it up, and obviously your USB 3.0 plugs in here. Your 1394 goes right there. USB 2.0, USB 2.0, 2.0, 2.0. So you know what some of these things are without even having to look at the manual. It's always awesome to be lazy, and that way you can see them. Here we have looks like a provided 4-pin Molex, so you can provide the extra power. A 4-pin fan right here. Here's tells you your boot codes. So here you can see that we have quad channel RAM. We only have 2 slots on this side, 2 slots on this side. I have seen some that have 4 and 4, but depending on how much RAM you actually need for your system, this is probably more than enough for you, especially considering how cheap RAM prices are nowadays, which more RAM is not necessarily better. Generally lower timings and higher speed is better, so getting like a 2133 is a better bet than getting just a ton of RAM, unless you do like Photoshop and Illustrator and stuff like that that takes lots of RAM. So for most people this is great. One of the things about X79 is there actually has to be more pressure on the chip than any of the prior ones. So it comes with a cool little manual here that when you pop it up, it tells you what you have to do. You flip it up, tells you the directions, and that folds down, folds to the side, to the other side. So we'll give you a quick little demo how you do it. Alright, so if you need to unlock it, it has a little thing right here. It says to unlock first. So you pop this out, slide it up. You go over to the other side, slide this down, unlatch this, and then it'll come up. Let's do this gently. And there you go. You load your CPU in, and now you do it the opposite way. So you lower it down. See if you can get these things to cooperate. Lower it down. Hook it in place, and then you slide this down, and there it is. So that's how you load it in there. As you can see, there's lots of passive cooling. It has more power here, so we're going to zoom up. More, so you have to plug these in here, and then you have your power. So if you don't want to actually plug in your front panels to your case, you can just try it here. So if you're test benching it, kind of like I have here, except for on cardboard, you can test bench it here, reset your BIOS here, and just instead of doing a power off, you can just hit the reset button here. This is really convenient, so that way if you need to turn something off. I like the location of it. I think before it was down over here on some of the other boards near the near where some of the video cards were, and it was always in the way and I could never click it, but this looks like it's in a better location. Here's your 24-pin power slot quickly, so that way you know what you're looking at for the PCI lanes. This is a X16 or X8. This is your X1, This is a X8 as well. Over here, this is an X4. This is your X8, X16, and this is your X8. So you have 1, 2, 3 that are capable of X8 or X16. These right here. This is also an X8. So here you can break up so you know that this one and this one are not going to be ones that you want to put graphics cards in. So X16, X8, 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 16, X8. So that way you know. This would be for like a sound card if you had a PCI Express one. Now, one thing about PCI Express lanes is remember that even an X16 can take an X1 or an X4. It just doesn't fit as tight. So if you had like a sound card and you wanted to put it down here, you could easily do that. This board is at best used for three-way SLI. Now, most cards, most gaming cards like 480s, 580s, any AMD cards, you really only need X8. You don't really fill enough to really need an X16, at least not yet. So I think even for a three-way situation, you're going to really be able to see maximum performance, plus or minus maybe 5 frames for going X8. You're not going to really cap it out. So for this board, X8's just fine. Maybe when we see the new generation of cards, you're going to probably want a full X16, but for now, I think you're solid. Also above it is the EVBot right here. This allows you to plug in their overclocking on the fly utility. We'll move over to this right here. This is your built-in Bluetooth right here, your standard USB. Here you can reset your BIOS. More USB 3.0, as you can see there's tons of them. Your eSATAs, your standard old school mouse and keyboard connections, your 2 keyboards. Right here is another EVBot for there on the fly. Tons of options for you as far as sound. I think it does 5.1, probably even 7.1, and your Toslink or your optical right here. Really cool little features that are on a lot of EVGA boards, higher end ones, is you have the ability to troubleshoot without unplugging the actual device. On this side over here, right here, it's very hard to see. Let's see if you can zoom in for it. You can actually disable your DIMM slots right here. So that way, if you want to troubleshoot without removing the actual RAM, you can do that. And there's others on this board as well. Here you can disable your PCI lanes. So if you want to disable, let's say 1, you can flip this little switch, and it's really hard to do. That way you don't accidentally do it. But that way you don't actually have to remove your graphics cards. Why is that good? Let's say you have water cooling and they're all on a loop. The last thing you really want to do is remove that graphics card and break your loop just to test if there was something wrong with it, or if you had a problem. Now, generally you should test your stuff before you plug it in, but if you don't have that option, you bought a water cooling block on a card pre-done, then that's the only really way to test it. SATA 2 drives right here. Here's your SATA 3. You have 2 options here. That seems to be the standard limitation for all SATA 3. So your 6Gs go here, 3Gs go here. These can be rated together, and these 2 can be separately rated together. They cannot all be rated together, nor can you try and blend the 2. They will be completely separate from one another. So for fan headers, you have fan header here, fan, more fans. You have another fan here, and another fan here. So you have tons of options for fans. For power, you need to know there's power here, 2 powers here. Some of these are optional, and they will say, as the little stickers we'll have here, they'll say pull off. I obviously, if you're going to populate all these things, or if you're going to do some overclocking, always populate all of them. That way you're good. So this was my unboxing and review of the EVGA for the Win X79 board. If you got any questions, leave them below. I'll try to answer them when I can. One thing real quick that most people have been asking me is what's the difference between X79 and 1155? Well, the truth is not very much, but you do get a faster processor. You can get a hexa-core for around $600. You get increased bandwidth for the amount of stuff you can put on your board. So if you have more graphics cards or RAID cards that use like X8 or X16, you can get more bandwidth pushed through the CPU than you could with X58 or 1155 for that matter. You get quad channel RAM, so you can have more RAM on there, especially if you get the 4 and 4 slot ones. But once again, it's really depending on how much RAM you actually need. You still don't get native SATA 3 support, so you can only get 2. It seems to be the limitation with all of them. If you see Marvel, that's not really truly Intel like SATA 3, you won't nearly see the performance that you will rating like you do on the Intel version of it. Hopefully with Ivy Bridge E, we'll see that. Still no complete native USB 3.0. It's still having to be built onto the board as a tack-on, and it's very similar to X58, just a lot more powerful. It's a good upgrade if you like to be the top of the top, the best of the best. If you do some video editing, things like that are very processor intensive, this is going to be a great board for you. If you've got any questions, once again, leave them below. If you like my videos, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to get more of these. And hope this helped you out.